off their credit cards. Now, the payments are $25, $50 a month, $75 a month. We take that same money, if we can convince us 125,000 people to pay off $1 billion, that's $1 billion, by the way. 125,000 times 8,000, that's $1 billion. And so that's what I'm calling the $1 billion challenge. I'm challenging us to pay off $1 billion in debt. Then we still have the money. Take that money. I'm hoping that we'll take the money and buy $100,000 worth of life insurance. If 125,000 people will buy $100,000 worth of life insurance, term insurance, which is cheaper than your credit card bill, we will create $12.5 billion. $1 billion. So you say, well, that sounds like pie in the sky. Can I give you this number? There are 1.6 million black people in Texas who spend $1 billion every year on lottery tickets. I'll say it a little slower, right? There are 2.6 million black people in Texas. That's how many blacks live in Texas. That's not Oklahoma, New York, Florida, California, just Texas. 2.6 million. The University of Texas says that 58% of them buy a lottery ticket every month. Now, they're not giving the NAACP money. They're not donating to the United Negro College Fund. They're about 58% of the 2.6 million people that live in Texas buy lottery tickets every month. And the average amount of purchases every month is $57. So 58% of 2.6 million is 1.6 million. And $57 a month times 1.6 million people is $1.1 billion. So I'm trying to develop a $12.5 billion number so that we can pass along that to our children when we die. We're going to die. And in the last 12 years, black people in Texas have spent $13.2 billion on lottery tickets. The chance of winning the big lottery is 175 million to 1. You hear what I'm trying to tell you? What I'm trying to tell you is that unless you know who understood this, Elijah Muhammad. Now I'm a Christian, Baptist, love the Lord. Everything I do in the name of Jesus. But the only African American that led people this way was Elijah Muhammad. Farrakhan and I are talking together about using D-Free, which is my brand, in the Nation of Islam, because he is concerned that Muslims are drowning in debt. So we need an economic strategy. And if we don't have an economic strategy, then we'll be singing and swinging and all of that, and we'll be broke. That's why y'all don't see me in many meetings, when people talk about what we ought to be doing. We're broke. What we ought to be doing is developing an economic base, not from the top down, but from the bottom up. Look at Plainfield. Bob's in Plainfield. Plainfield should look like Atlanta. It looks like Beirut. All right, final thing. So, education, economics, and the last E is ethics. We have got to develop among our people some sense of right and wrong. You see? Because it's getting embarrassing. It's getting embarrassing to have to defend black people for corruption in the name of being black. And I'll just say this. If some of our political leaders who do what they do were white, school board members, city council members, mayors, how are you going to have a black congressman representing the Katrina community get caught with $90,000 in cash in his refrigerator? And I'm tired. And you know what? Jimmy, I'm tired of black politicians hiding behind cover. never show up when we need them, except Patterson here, Sister Evans. Always got their hand out, and then when they get caught with their hand in the cookie jar, now they want the NAACP and the black preacher, everybody, because they set me up. You set your own fool self up. Because if white people did it, we'd call them racist. And we have got in the black preachers. I call their name. Listen, there was a fella, you see, when I was coming along, there was a fella named Reverend Ike. And Reverend Ike was in New York. He had 12 Rolls Royces. He had 500 custom-made suits. He was on TV. His motto was, "You can't lose with the stuff I use." Bring me the money, honey. You know what I mean? He was all about money. And he was right across town from Adam Clayton Powell. Adam Clayton Powell was in Congress, passing a law. All the community colleges in America exist because of Adam Clayton Powell. Adam Clayton Powell. Mercer County College. So the press asked Reverend Ike, "What are you doing to help poor people?" Adam Clayton Powell's over there in Harlem. He's passing laws to help poor people. And Reverend Ike, and they said, "What about Reverend King? He's down south marching for poor people." Reverend Ike said, "What I'm doing for poor people is not being one of them." That's what he said. He said, "What I'm doing for poor people is reducing their number by one." That's right. There's one less poor people because I'm not going to be poor. And he was proud of that. And when I first started out, Jerry knew me when I was in college. If somebody called me a Reverend Ike, those were fighting words. It was an insult. You'd use that in a pejorative manner. You just a Reverend Ike. And what that meant was you didn't care about anybody but yourself. And you would whip people off in the name of God. That I've lived long enough to see preachers on TV make Reverend Ike look like Dr. King. And when a preacher, in the name of God, tricks people into thinking that if the people make the preacher rich, God will make the people rich, he ought to go to jail. He ought to go to jail. So back in the day when we were fighting, these big wars, the kind of unwritten rule was black people should not criticize black people publicly. And you got preachers raping black children. When you got politicians stealing money from black children, we just saw a councilman in Washington go to jail for stealing money from a fund that was supposed to buy equipment for black children. So how long can we remain silent when white people do something to us? We are vociferous in our description, and we should be. When Don Imus called those children from my church nappy-headed hoes, I went on every station I could to call him a racist. But it is morally inconsistent to criticize white people when white people call us names and we won't say a word about black people who are ripping off their own people. We need some ethical standards. There's got to be a right and wrong among our people. And until we do that, we won't have the moral. White people won't take you seriously if you won't even criticize yourself. Dr. King not only criticized the brutality and the violence of Bull Connor, he also criticized the violent language of the Black Panthers. And that's why he was the moral leader of the 60s. And so I say to you, if we develop our educational revolution, if we're serious about an economic strategy, and if we're focused on ethical values, right and wrong, for me they come from the Bible, then we'll be a great people. And we can turn around some of this pathology of these negative statistics, and we can demand that this nation respect us because we are worthy of respect. It's hard to demand respect from others when you don't respect yourself.